a dish you like you're never gonna forget. When the waiter comes around, don't be bashful, just sit down for rigatoni, mustaccioli, or spaghetti.
Hello and welcome to Drive-In Double Feature Podcast. I'm Nathan.
I'm Ryan.
And this is the podcast where we talk about 2 movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before we get into this week's episode, we have a Patreon. If you head over to patreon.com/Drive-In Double Feature Podcast, we have so much. We have quizzes. We talk about new movies. I think we fought each other over there. So be sure to check that out. It's a podcast you will never forget. All right. Getting into this Tuesday's movie, we are talking about Massacre Mafia Style, also known as The Executioner and Like Father, Like Son. Yes, we're back to more movies that have like 5 different names everywhere. The Executioner came up before Massacre Mafia Style for me when I was looking this movie up. This is a 1974 movie directed by Duke Mitchell, who is a Italian crooner. He's a singer, but he's also in some movies. He's also the singing voice for Fred Flintstone in the cartoons. If Fred Flintstone sang, it was Duke Mitchell, which I think is kind of funny.
What's your favorite Fred Flintstone song?
I couldn't even, I don't even know. Just some dumb rock pun. Any of his rock covers. There we go.
Rock Hudson.
Rock Hudson. Yeah, that what a bad joke. Did they ever do that where like Wilma was like, I want to meet Rock Hudson?
It has to be.
Mm-hmm.
Has to be. Like, I cannot.
I think
such an easy layup.
There's one episode where they say we got to go to the Leonard Bernstein concert, which is so bad.
Now, do you think Bradley Cooper watched that episode of Flintstones?
Oh yeah, he lived. He needed to watch everything that mentioned Leonard Bernstein. That's why
he went to the crew, said nobody sits, and everyone has to call me Leonard Bernstone.
Yeah, I'm Leonard Bernstone today. Leonard Bernstone is here. He came to me. Yeah, but anyway, that's a tangent.
Yeah.
Massacre Mafia Style. So Ryan, I don't have any Italian heritage. Do you have any Italian heritage that you know of? Do you come from an Italian family?
Oh, you know me. No.
Okay. Well, then we rightfully cannot review this movie. This movie is for Italians, made by Italians. If you thought The Godfather was an Italian movie, this takes that and like it's all about it. And I'm not even kidding here. They mention spaghetti, rigatoni. They sing Italian songs. It's all about Sicily in this movie. So I guess before we get into the movie, I guess I'll talk about how I found out about this movie because I knew nothing about it. I knew about this guy's second movie. He made a second movie after this that was Lost. He made it like in 74 or 76, actually, because this one was 74. And they only found it like very recently and released it. I wanted to do that one, but he's only made 2 movies, and this was his other one. He made it before, and I was like, okay, well, let's start with the first one. We'll go through his whole filmography together.
Thank God.
Yeah, we got to finish it out. But yeah, I mean, did you know anything about this movie, Ryan?
I had no clue at all. I mean, I love mob movies, so I was when I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, it could be pretty good.
Yeah, it's an interesting mob movie, that's for sure. I mean, as we come to find out later in the movie, he talks about The Godfather and how they're making fun of us in Hollywood. So this is kind of, I almost take it as like an FU to The Godfather in a way. Like, no, this is what it's really like, buddy.
Well, he was pretty much like didn't he like say that he was pretty much inspired by The Godfather to make this movie?
Yeah, I guess you're right. But he does say they're making fun of us in Hollywood.
Well, yeah, because they were alluding to, I don't think they ever say The Godfather, but they do talk about like there's this one mob movie that came out, Papa.
Yeah. Exactly.
They make fun of them. We're a joke to them, Papa. The kids on the street, they don't have sex for money anymore. They only have sex just for a ride or dirty clothes.
They'll just do it for fun. They'll trade clothes. Yeah, and that's like the very end of the movie. But yeah, that's kind of like the thing with this movie. The movie opens up with Ryan. A scene that happens way later in the movie is at the beginning of the movie. How transcendent is that? That is just brilliant.
No, I thought they made a mistake. They're like they accidentally showed this part before the
Yeah.
other part. Like
Yeah, you
what
were just
idiots.
confused. Yeah, well, it's definitely interesting. I mean, I guess they really wanted to start with violence. I don't know about you, but this movie, I think I put in my letterbox review, it's kind of a shocking movie still to this day because Duke Mitchell is like an executioner. Like he goes around and just murders people. And in the beginning of the movie, he's just in an office building shooting random people. It's just basically a mass shooting, and we're seeing it on screen. And I was like, oh my God. It's kind of the idea is kind of messed up.
Well, and it's these people aren't doing anything because I mean he does go in there for a hit, like he goes in there
Yes.
for a purpose to kill somebody, and he once he does it, like he takes out like the one witness, so it's like okay, he's got to take out the witness, I guess, but then it's
Hmm.
just like I'm going to intentionally go into every single room in this office and murder whoever
Yeah.
is in there, and I don't care who because. And it's these people are not even alarmed that there's an active shooting in their building. Like they're
Oh,
just like they're not even aware of it. So like they because like they'll go like in the hall, they won't even be paying attention to Duke, and they'll just like and they're just like, huh, who's that guy? And then just like just bam, just like you're dead. And
yeah.
that so that was pretty shocking. Like and just the fact too, just like how brutal it was. Like there's like one guy that's like begging for it's like I'm so like he's like doing the Hail Mary and
Uh-huh.
everything and just gets blown his head blown off.
Yeah, and it shows it's very violent, it's bloody, and it's just like a whole montage set to some Italian crooning music, pretty much. Just like, hey, we know we're celebrating. And this is the very first kill of the movie is them hooking a guy in a wheelchair up to a urinal and electrifying him through the urinal water, which is so out there. Um, but that scene ends with them going down the elevator and there's a kid, and I'm just thinking they're gonna kill this kid, aren't they? But they didn't. They didn't kill the kid. I guess that was too far for them.
No,
Um,
he's got some class.
some class. But what we learn about this character after that, because it does go back, is that he's from Sicily, and his dad actually already tried to get the mafia into, or his family into America, got kicked out, sent back, and now Duke Mitchell wants to go back to America. He wants to go to LA though, not New York, in order to get into the crime business there. There's already a family there though, so he has to wedge his way in, and he'll do it at all costs.
Well, like okay, so like in the he's in Sicily because like you said, his dad got exiled to Sicily. Like they
Mhm.
basically kicked him out of America. So they revealed that his name is Mimi in the movie, by
Yes,
the
Mimi.
way,
Yes, yeah,
and he why did they just call him Meme? But anyway,
yeah, yeah. Shorten it down. Come on. I don't want to say
yeah,
Mimi.
but he was married and his wife died, but they
Mhm.
had a kid, and he's got like this little boy. And Duke, I mean, he looks like he's in his 50s. It looks like he's just
He's
like, and
old.
his wife looks like she like just got graduated college.
Yeah, no, well, see, what's the thing about this guy? Whenever you make an independent movie where you're the star, you can hire whoever you want to be your wife in the movie. So, that's probably all
Yeah.
it was. Like, okay, who do I get to be naked with in this movie? I'm gonna hire this lady.
Well, I mean, I assume like he's like thinking like, oh yeah, I look good enough where I
Yeah,
could be
exactly.
I'm playing 20, 30 years old, no problem.
Yeah, I can pass for 30. No, this guy, he is like, it's so hard to explain his look. He just looks old. He has like old man hair. He's kind of balding a little. It's yeah. He's an
It,
interesting looking star.
it's a I want to make this clear that the acting in this movie is not good at
No,
all.
no, God, no.
But there's something about it where I couldn't take my eyes off of it.
No, I mean it's a very interesting movie. Like I don't think I like loved it. But like there is a charm to this movie, a very indie charm. I think we talked about this before, where a movie is just like so low budget that you end up like you're like, you give a pass to some of its flaws if you enjoy it a little bit.
Well, it's kind of going back to some of the ones we talked about, where it's like what they thought was they were making is good. Like
yes. They thought
trying.
He's like,
They're
I'm
trying.
making the next Godfather.
Exactly. So he's like, they're trying very, very hard here, and there's something very admirable about that when it's like totally missed the mark, but they're like, hey, they tried. Like they thought they were doing good.
Yeah, because there's like one thing about this movie, it kind of has no direction at times. I'm sure you felt like, because he gets to America and his big thing is like, I'm gonna get all the pimps and hookers and I'm gonna run that side of it, and he kind of just like gets out of that and he's like, I'm making porno now, and he's like, it's like the movie just has no direction to choose to go in. It's like, oh, let's just show you a whole bunch of crimes he could do.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to build him up to be this like big mob boss, but it's so silly because you're just like, I don't know, like what's the end game here? Because he's like, because
everyone's pissed at him.
Yeah, he pisses off everybody. There's so many because one thing he does is like he tries to like kidnap a notable figure in the mob named Chucky, I think, and what they do, he sends the mob like one of Chucky's fingers.
Yep.
And there's so many like, because nobody in this movie acts well.
No. There's not. Usually I could be like, there's one person I liked.
No, not one person here I would ever say that did a good job. But they're the one that I was remember, like, because it's all these mob guys sitting around, they're looking at this finger, and they're like, hey, how do we even know this is Chucky's finger? And one guy's like, I know that's Chucky's finger. I've seen it on his hand 1,000,000 times.
Yeah, I like that scene because it's like they're just sitting around a table, and it's literally like a few minutes of them debating on like what we're gonna do, and like someone's like, no, we don't need to attack, we need to give them the money, and the other guy's like, well, I dealt with schoolyard bullies, and you're supposed to fight them on day one. And he says this maybe 3 times at the table.
Yeah,
he keeps saying it.
What I like about it is it does not flow naturally at all.
No.
Nothing, like in a movie, to make it sound more natural, there's people talking over each other, interrupting each other, but it'll be like, I think we should do this. Pause. I think we should do that. Like,
yeah, there's like that. I'm sure you notice that, like, if there's other people talking, it'll be off camera, and obviously it's not voiceover. Literally, the person is off camera talking,
yelling.
So so there's like a nice little echo that happens later in the end whenever that he goes back to Sicily and talks to the Don. Or right, he's the Don, or he's called the Patron, right? The Patron. Yeah. But anyway, that happens, and you get everything's solved, and then we get this really crazy wedding sequence after that because Chucky, he's back at it. They gave him the money, and there's a wedding, and there's a nice singer there. And Ryan, you've been talking about this song. It's been on my mind too. It was like when my fiance came home from work, and I was like, oh, how was your day? And I had watched this movie. That was like one of the first things I told her about. There's a song in this movie that I watched where they talk about different Italian dishes. And, hey, if the waiter's gonna bring it to you, it's gonna play at the beginning of this episode. So
yeah. Well, so I did some research about this guy, and like that sang it because the song is called the Rigatoni song, and because I'm like, because I like, while the movie was playing, I Shazammed it, and it like Shazam took like twice before it finally figured out what song it was.
Oh wow!
And his name is Carl Kokomo, Kokomo, and like he was like an Italian crooner, and he was friends with Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra dubbed him the Singing Sicilian.
Okay.
And that's actually him in the movie singing.
That's
And
cool. That's cool.
yeah. And I was like, what is this most popular song? And I guess he really didn't have like a ton of notoriety, but he has like one of his songs recently has come like back into
Is
a
it
little
like
bit
a
of popular.
TikTok song?
No, because it was a song called "Nervous Kiss,"
Okay.
and it was actually on the Fallout TV series. And so like,
Really? Oh wow.
so if you look, it like on iTunes, like that's like his like most popular song, like by far, by than any other thing. And I'll just say this though, like, because like you'll hear it in the beginning of the episode, but you know, it's a very different way of singing like than he normally does, because he goes like, it's like, it's a dish like you're never gonna forget, like that type of thing. But like,
Uh-huh.
and like, and his other songs though, you know, he just sounds like a 50s crooner, like nervous kid, just like,
Really?
he
And
like
so,
doesn't
but
that. So
that's
that's
just
like
a
his
fun
big like
song.
comedy. Yeah, yeah, that's a comedy, like pop, like I think like, hey, we're just having a good time here.
Yeah, we're just gonna talk about pasta because we're Italian, kind of deal.
Yeah,
Uh, would you have this person at your wedding, Ryan?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. If he was still alive, and if he was like, "Hey, I'll perform at your wedding for free, but I have to play this whole song. You cannot interrupt me, and I'm gonna sing." I'd
Yeah,
say
yeah,
yes.
I'd say
Yeah,
yeah. I got, well, because like you said, since Duke Mitchell was, you know, probably like a crooner, you know, he was probably like, this is probably like his friend. He's like, oh yeah,
yeah,
I gotta put my buddy in this movie type of thing. But
yeah. That's all I can
the
imagine.
the thing you know, it's the reason why we were making such a big deal about it though, is like they don't play like just a snippet of the song; they play the whole song,
Yeah, he
and
sings the whole song.
it's like a big dance number too, like where like he's dancing like on the
Yeah.
wedding floor, like singing the song, and
Mhm.
it's so bizarre because it just does not match the tone of
No,
this
not at
movie
all.
at all, because it's a really like something you would hear like at like a fun Italian restaurant or something.
Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, something like that. So it's very, very out of place, but it's just it's such a funny song just because it's just they're just, you know, I think back to the good old days. I'm like, why don't they just sing about like how good food is
I
anymore?
know that is great. I don't know. I get a kick anytime anyone says spaghetti instead of spaghetti, and that's
Oh,
that's what he calls it in the songs. It's kind of funny.
so you're a big fan of that one meme.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The Tim and Eric spaghetti meme, of course. No.
Somebody touching my spaghetti.
Yeah. That. Oh God. There's multiple spaghetti things. You're
Yeah,
right. I remember that one. I don't know. Was that
that
one
was a
good?
big that was a big year in 2021. Okay, like there was a lot of stuff happening
That
and
was
a lot
2021.
a lot of good memes.
Just too many good memes. But yeah, Duke Mitchell does show up to this wedding, and he basically muscles his way in. He says his line that he says multiple times in this movie, and it's "You're in or you're in the way." And he says this a lot. That's like his mantra. But yeah, he ends up getting into this, and he takes out pimps and hookers, and I don't know. He just starts killing people. He's like, oh, I can't get in. Okay, I'm just going to kill people.
Yeah, that's what he does. And he has a friend with them, and they go to like this bar, and
Jolly
they're trying,
Rizzo.
and who's really obsessed with his dog, and that's like his whole character trait is
Yep, they
like
like
he
kiss
loves his
on the
dog.
mouth.
Yeah, it's really weird, but
Uh-huh.
uh, he goes in, and like there's this one pimp who's like, you know, really big and tough, and his
Hmm.
friends like, well, you know, it's a 70s movie, it's an exploitation movie, so his friends just like calling him the N word like over and over and over
Yeah,
again, just
like it's not a big deal.
like you're a blank 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 blank, but he says that like 50 times,
Hmm.
like, and then Duke's like, yeah, and a pimp.
Yeah, I love
Like,
that. Yeah. I thought that was so funny because it felt so out of place. Like, yeah, you're all those things, but you're also a pimp.
yeah,
Uh,
like so many like out of place dialogues
mhm.
scenes.
God, speaking of out of place, Duke Mitchell falls in love with this girl who's like he just sleeps with, and like that becomes a romance because obviously he's Duke Mitchell, he can get any lady he wants, so he gets this like younger woman, and at first she's like no, I'm just sleep with you to get what I want, but by the end of the movie she'll die for him, which I think is so lame. In the end she's like, it's a really long dialogue scene where she's like, I would die for you. I would do anything
I,
for you. Let's get married.
I want this. I want us. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, he's like, I can't give you that. She's like, so I'm just some type of cheap hooker to you? When have I ever treated you like a cheap hooker?
Yeah, exactly. As they're just laying in bed together.
Yeah, like she's topless the whole time, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Like just anytime to have a serious discussion.
Yeah. But yeah, that's like a whole thing. There's like another section of the movie where he decides, oh, I'm gonna get in the porn. So like there's this scene on the boat where they're filming the porno, which I thought was funny because they all go down together, like almost like a family, like him, Jolly, and his girl, and they're just watching the porn, and she's like, I've never tried that position before, but they're blocking the cameraman the whole time. Which I thought that was kind of a funny bit where he's like, get out of the way, you're blocking the shots.
Yeah, the porno bit, I was like, okay, like where's this movie going? Like because I was kind of like, I'm like, is there going to be like a plot or
I think it thinks it has a plot, but it just doesn't really make sense, or it just doesn't really connect well.
Yeah,
because I honestly I didn't get it, because like what's his end goal? Because like you said, because by the end of the movie he says like, I'm afraid to go to sleep at night, they're going to kill me, and like it's just like everybody hates me, and it's like, well, you did this to yourself.
Yeah, like he goes in and complains about this whole thing, and then because he basically is like going around threatening other people in the mob, like, hey, if we don't do things my way, bad things are going to happen, type of thing. And once he takes over, then everyone's just like had it up to here with me here, and so they start killing everybody that's like related to him, and then his best friend, like they feed him his dog like on a silver platter.
Yeah, yeah.
And just, which I mean, it looked really fake, so I was like, okay. Yeah. And the guy's like screaming, no, my dog, and they just shoot him like right in the head.
Yeah, could you imagine? They just did that for shock value. Like they could have just killed him.
Yeah, they were already gonna kill him. It's just like, oh, okay, well, why can't they just shoot him? like okay, we gotta make him really sad, and then we could shoot him.
We're gonna upset him for 2 seconds and then just kill him. Like, it makes no sense, but whatever. It's shock for the movie. But yeah, I mean, everything just goes south for him, and he ends up leaving and going back to Sicily, which I thought, I can't believe the movie still goes on, because he has the long,
for like another 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly, another 20 minutes of this movie where he talks to the mom, like to his dad, and he's just like, there's this really long sequence about how much he hates young people, because he's like, these new mom members, they'll do anything, like he said, like they'll have sex with anyone for free, they'll just take drugs, they kill people without even thinking, but basically saying like, these are bad criminals. Us mob members, we're the good criminals. We have standards.
Despite him going on a murder spree, but
yeah, but I guess that's okay.
That was the classy way of doing things.
Yeah, but like, oh, go ahead.
No, there's like the one scene too. I think it's like his mom or like his grandma. Like it's like they're sitting around the table and he's talking. He like grabs her hands, like, look at these hands. You see these beautiful hands. Like you'd see what these types of hands make. These type of hands make pasta. These types of hands make olive oil with the
olive oil. Yeah.
They smell like olive oil. They smell great.
Yeah. Well, I get it. I get it. Mozzarella, olive oil, the whole thing.
Mazzacholi.
Yeah, everything. I mean, he goes back and he has a nice Italian dinner, and at the beginning of the movie they mention that he has a son. His son does show up. And it's really odd because the movie sets it up like, oh, well, your son is a really good boy. Not all young people are bad. And I thought the movie once again was going to end because there's a song sequence where they're walking in the forest and just enjoying each other's company.
Yeah, well, because he says like, because his son, has been living in Sicily the whole time. Because his son was a little boy at the beginning of the movie, and
Yes.
now he's like an adult, and it's like, oh, father, I want to go to America and go to school, and he's like, then that's what you will do, my son.
Yeah, but then the movie, of course, has to end with an extreme downer, and his son ends up killing his own father.
Which I was like, what? And
Yeah.
like, well, it's such a ridiculous way too, because I had to rewind that scene probably like twice
Really?
because I had to just like comprehend what just happened, because he's sitting there at the table, like they're at like this big party, and it's like, here, Mimi, catch, and like his dad throws him like a piece of bread and he goes to catch it, but then his son has a gun hidden inside the bread loaf.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And like the whole, and like, cause like so his he shoots his own father right in the middle of this party. Everyone is so shocked, like they were not expecting that at all. And I'm like, so wait, did they just like not tell anybody like they were going to murder this guy?
That did confuse me. I was a little like, okay, they just wanted to kill this guy, and they couldn't even do it in the privacy. They had to kill it in front of like the whole family. What point are you proving?
Well, like, and I had to make sure it was the son that shot, because like they don't show the son holding the gun. It's
okay,
because they show like the gun out of the bread loaf, and then they have like the show like the son and the grandfather standing next to each other. But even they look like upset and confused about what just happened. So I was just like, it's like, did somebody else shoot him? And then
I guess like, maybe, I don't know. I just assumed it was the son.
No, it is, because like when I was like that had to be it, because I don't see anybody else. But still, it's just like, so I mean, I'm guessing what happened is like they probably still had contacts or whatever with the grandfather, and they're like, your son's been been causing some big troubles here. Like, we need to get rid of him.
Exactly, yeah. And it killed him, and then of course it was the young blood that killed him. Thematically tying everything up, young Italians suck, I guess, to him. It was over.
It truly was like father, like son.
Like father, like son, like the movie title, one of the alternate titles. But yeah, I mean, just like generally like that, it's a fun movie. Good? No, but good is subjective. Right? Like, come on, that's just like an opinion. I don't know. No, it's a fun movie. I don't know. I had a good time watching it.
I had a blast watching it. I mean, because I just like, it's one of those like so bad it's good movies, and it's like really entertaining, like for just like the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And we're like, like everyone's so bad at acting, and then just like this overkill of violence where they're just like, people are just like, they get shot and like their whole chest like explodes open type of thing. So I really was like interested. I was like, there's got to be more of these mob exploitation movies where I got to see more stuff like this.
Yeah. That's not something a lot of people talk about. So maybe there are more out there. I mean, there is one more directed by this guy, but we'll have to do that another time. But yeah, you know what? I recommend it. If this sounded fun to you, check it out.
It's fun. I would definitely recommend. I mean, as long as you know what you're getting into, it's a good time.
Yeah. But I guess that wraps it up for today. Ryan, what are we going to be covering on Thursday?
Well, Nathan, I'm normally I'm the loud partner, but on Thursday, Nathan, we're going to be covering the silent partner.
Okay, you better not talk.
Oh, well, that's fine. I'll let you lead the episode.
The silent partner, Elliot Gould. Good.
Yeah. But yes, that is a movie we're going to talk about, The Silent Partner. It is streaming over on the Criterion channel right now.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to watch that. And if you want to send us a recommendation, you can email us over at drivein-double-feature-podcast@gmail.com. You can also tweet at us over at DIDFpod. Be sure to check us out on YouTube and our Patreon. But until next time.
Until next time.
Got the dish that's awful hard to beat. Hard to beat. No matter if you're poor or the elite. She's really gonna knock you off your feet. Rigatoni, mustacholi, or spaghetti. It's a dish you like, you're never gonna forget. When the waiter comes around, don't be bashful, just sit down for